All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about a story that is just unbelievable. It's about a man named Tsutomu Yamaguchi, and his life is this wild intersection of pure tragedy and what can only be called a miracle.
So, have you ever thought about this? Can someone be the luckiest person alive and the unluckiest person alive at the exact same time? It sounds like a brain teaser, right? But for this man, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, it was just his life. His story really forces you to rethink what luck even means.
And let's be super clear here. This isn't some tall tale or an urban legend. This is documented history. He is literally the only person officially recognized by the Japanese government as a Niju Hibakusha, which means a twice-bombed person. Think about that. One guy in the middle of two of history's most destructive events.
So let's set the scene. Part 1 of this incredible story takes place in Hiroshima, and it all starts on what should have been a totally normal day. Just another business trip, but history had other, much more violent plans.
The date, August 6, 1945. Tsutomu Yamaguchi. He's an engineer, right? Working for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. He's been on this business trip for 3 long months. And this is it. This is the last day. He's all set to finally go home.
And this is where you see just how fast everything can change. He's doing the most mundane thing you can imagine, just stepping off a tram. And in that split second, the sky just rips open with a light that would be burned into his memory forever.
Get this, he was less than 2 miles from the epicenter. 2 miles. That's how close he was to the first atomic bomb ever used on people. Close enough to see that terrifying mushroom cloud, to feel that unbelievable heat, and to get physically thrown to the ground by the shock wave.
And the damage was immediate and brutal. He was blinded for a bit, both his eardrums were ruptured, and the whole left side of his body was just covered in these terrible burns. He was alive, yeah, but terribly wounded.
Now, for pretty much anyone else on the planet, that would be the end of the story, right? Surviving an atomic bomb. But for Yamaguchi, Hiroshima, that was just chapter 1. His next big problem? Just getting home.
I mean, can you imagine the sheer willpower? He's wrapped in bandages, he's confused, he's in unimaginable pain, and all he can think about, the only thing driving him, is, I have to get home to my family.
So just try to picture this journey. First, he has to somehow make his way through a city that's basically been turned to ash and rubble. Then, he gets to a train station and manages to get on this overnight train, which is just packed with other wounded people. And all this time, where is he heading? Home, to his hometown of Nagasaki.
And this is the gut-punch irony of his entire story. The one place he thought would be safe, the one place he was running to for refuge from this absolute horror, was the next target on the list.
Okay, so this next part is what makes Yamaguchi's story legendary. I mean, this is the moment that's so unbelievable, if it were in a movie, you'd say, no way, that's too far-fetched.
So fast forward just 3 days. It's August 9th. He's finally back home in Nagasaki, trying to heal, trying to process the absolute nightmare he just lived through. He's with people he knows, but the universe isn't done with him yet.
The scene is it's like something out of a movie. There he is, in his office, still covered in bandages, trying to explain the horrors of Hiroshima to his boss. And his boss, naturally, just can't wrap his head around it.
His boss basically asks him, how? How could one single bomb destroy an entire city? And you know what? It's a fair question. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. Well, his boss was about to get a very, very direct answer.
At that exact moment, while he's literally describing that white flash of light he saw in Hiroshima, that same brilliant, terrible white light fills the window right there in Nagasaki. Unbelievable. Lightning struck twice.
Okay, let's just stop for a second and really let this sink in. August 6th, Hiroshima. He's on a business trip, stepping off a tram. 3 days later, August 9th, Nagasaki. He's back home, talking to his boss. 2 totally normal, everyday moments in 2 different cities, both shattered by an atomic bomb. The odds of that happening are, they're not even worth calculating. They're basically 0.
So, where do you go from there? What happens after you survive the end of the world twice? You'd probably guess his life would be short, defined by nothing but trauma. But you'd be wrong. That is not how this story ends.
Somehow, he survived again.
The second bomb actually blew off his bandages from the first one, but he didn't get any major new injuries. And here's another miracle. His wife and son, they were out at that moment trying to find some ointment for his burns, and they survived too.
And this number, this might be the most unbelievable part of the whole thing. After all that, after being at ground zero for 2 atomic bombs, after all that radiation, Tsutomu Yamaguchi lived to be 93 years old. 93! He didn't just survive, he lived.
And you know, he could have become a very bitter man. Who would blame him? But he didn't. Instead, he took this unimaginable trauma and turned it into a mission. He spent his later years speaking out for peace, for nuclear disarmament, telling his story so that hopefully no one would ever have to go through what he did.
He has this great quote that I think just sums it all up, that the human spirit is atomic-proof. And that's really his legacy, isn't it? It wasn't just that his body survived, it was that his spirit survived, that he could find meaning and a purpose for peace after seeing the absolute worst. That's the real resilience.
So in the end, his life is just this incredible paradox. It's walking that razor's edge between impossible tragedy and an honest-to-God miracle. I mean, how unlucky do you have to be in the only 2 cities ever hit by atomic bombs? But then, how lucky do you have to be to survive both of them?
And that really leaves us with a big question to think about, doesn't it? For Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the bombs were these 2 awful defining moments, but his life was 93 years long. So what really defines a life? Is it the tragedies we endure, or is it everything we do afterward? The long journey of putting it all back together?